Everybody, and welcome to another episode of Flix Plus Prime, your official streaming suggester. I don't know. We're still trying to come up with some cool catchphrase for the show. Your host is always Johnny Torres. Thank you so much for watching. Again, we appreciate you for catching the show. We want to grow the show, so please make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe wherever you may be watching and picking up this version of the show today. This is our second episode, but the faces won't change. We've got with us Nate Ginter, Aníbal David Cabrera. with
my Shaw will.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I got a box full of them and they're coming out.
You went from Joseph the Technicolor Dreamcoat to the Scotsman over here. It's the Highlander.
I'm going to go by nationalities. I think I have a few Jewish ones also, but it'll be fine. I have a Peshmerga
Miss Maisel, you missed out, dude.
Oh, no. It was on purpose.
Luckily, we're talking about a very manly show today. As we kick things off, again, we are going to be covering the shows that you should be watching on the streaming platforms out there. There's obviously tons of stuff to watch, so hopefully we can make your decisions a little easier. Today, we're going to be talking about Reacher on Amazon. It's an Amazon original, again, consistent with our rules here. We are going to be covering programs that have not been in movie theaters or on your television, and they are exclusive to the streaming platforms. I actually finally got around to watching this mostly at the twisting of the arm of you guys, because it had been in my queue for a long time, and I'd heard great things, but just hadn't quite gotten around to it. And so because of the show, I've tried to binge watch the first few episodes.
Can I give you a hot take on this to set the table?
Let's do it.
This is America's Sherlock Holmes. This is a 7-foot-tall meat mountain who is super smart. He's a fighter, just like Sherlock Holmes is in the actual book.
Let's calm down.
Okay. And he's a CSI. He's an expert in a lot of different things.
Very intuitive.
And quite frankly, Tom Cruise movies, if you've seen them, not bad, similar vein, completely different character, though.
The problem is, okay, I understand your position. I understand where you're coming from. With Alan, who is Jack Reacher in this one, I can see him taking a punch. So that one part where he gets headbutted and he looks at him and he headbutts it back, I believe that because I believe this character. When it came to Tom Cruise, I didn't believe it, and he got beat up a lot actually in the TV show. So in the movies. So
well, and I'm kind of glad.
I'm actually really happy how it went.
I didn't see the movie. I didn't see the Tom Cruise movie.
You haven't seen any of them?
This is a crime procedural for those who just so we ground this. A la, think like, sort of a true detective unveiling with a little bit more straight down the middle plot. Still some twists and turns, but there's a lot more.
Well, because they can, right? They have the bandwidth to set the storyline a little deeper, a little longer.
You needed something more than an hour and a half to be able to really flush out this character and the characters around him, which was phenomenal. I mean, I've already seen it's probably the best 7 or 8 fight scenes. In one TV show. It's amazing.
And in regards
next to Daredevil.
Next Daredevil is amazing. But again, a different show. But I will say, some of the fight scenes when it came to here, it just got better and better and better every single episode. And actually, I was a little disappointed at the end. I was like, okay, he died that way, but really, I wanted his head.
Wait, hold on, because again, so yes, by the way,
why
the show,
I'm not giving the full details.
I don't know if you're talking about Daredevil or if you're talking about Reacher.
No, we're talking about Reacher.
But
okay,
you know how many people die in that movie?
Oh, it was crazy.
Hence why me saying, the way that person got killed is not the way I would have thought.
Gotcha.
Now, I want to say this though about Reacher, which makes it fun to watch. It's a little different than some of the fights. If you've ever been in a fight in your life, they don't go the way they do most of the time. Jack Reacher in the show and in the books is 7 feet tall.
Yes. Right.
Former special forces guy. He in real life, when if they're in a small town and a bar full of yokels, he literally beats up the entire bar. Okay,
right.
And that is not a joke. That's the way it goes. And 3 5-foot tall guys do not add up to 1 6-foot tall guy in real life.
At the end, they just don't. And remember in the bar scene where he's like, I can tell you're a boxer. Well, you know what the issue with boxing is? There are too many rules. And then he kicks him in the nuts.
Takes him out in 10 seconds
because he's a boxer.
I actually just got past that scene. storyline,
I'm glad you watched this.
And I loved it, but at the same time, I was
he done told on himself.
I was hoping that there would have been a little bit more of a fight there, because two huge.
But that was the beauty of it. But that's the beauty of it. It was so.
It was the
perfect.
first guy that was actually equal, like in height and size and all that to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's there's also we've all seen a million prison fight scenes.
Yes.
Without ruining anything. This is one of the first ones where you're like, oh, that went the way it probably should have gone.
Right, and they don't draw it out too long. You know what I mean?
Right.
And back to
It's the
these are
perfect size. It's
very
the perfect
realistic fights. Again, they don't try to fill time with these fights.
No.
They get accomplished what they want to accomplish, which
Yes.
it does help move the storyline. And most of these fights
Which-
have context.
Yes.
A lot of great character actors in this, people that you're going to recognize that you've seen in some other things, especially among some of the core characters. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was the dynamic between him and the sort of one of the female police officers of this small town in the sheriff's office. And
But that
there's a
storyline,
way
I think, to be critical here, because we want to be fair, was you saw the inevitable, and again, spoiler alert, you saw the inevitable hookup.
Of
course.
You did see that, but that's like saying you saw that in Moonlighting. Of course they're gonna.
Yeah.
But I actually thought they took a fair amount of time getting there.
Okay.
And they divert you a few times.
What, 2 episodes?
No, I don't know. I think it's like more than that before it actually happened.
No, I'm like I'm just after
And
that.
by that I mean they play tiddlywinks.
It's like the third.
This isn't Bridgerton where it's sex after the 4th episode. Like
No, it literally was. It was like the 3rd episode.
No, it wasn't. They had
It's like
sex.
the 3rd
No,
or
it's
4th
not.
episode.
No, it's not. You're wrong.
My count, maybe my count's off.
I will do the research.
I will watch
it again.
Nate will gladly do the
I
research.
will again with the sound off, so I'm not distracted.
I will say this: the fight scenes are hilarious. The fight scene where Reacher basically pimp slaps one of the other characters. I'm getting triggered by the Oscars. I'm getting triggered by the Oscars. It was hilarious.
It was, yeah.
What I like about the show too is that they don't kind of put all the storyline cards right out on the table.
Yeah.
Like you still don't quite know who he is, even well into the first
But
season.
then you also don't know who you can trust.
Right.
And that's a big one as well.
well, that too.
I will say this is although I did call it kind of a straight down the middle thing, I will say I would put it in complexity far more than your average episode of like CSI.
Correct.
A little bit less than a masterful episode of I'm trying to think of sort of a True Detective is really the only I go to that as my ultimate.
For me, it's NCIS. For me, it's NCIS. Like,
oh, okay. So you're a simpleton.
Yes, I am.
Okay, gotcha.
So thank you for calling my father a simpleton. In regards
Listen, all
to-
of our nanas need something to watch.
That and trains. I don't know what the issue is, but I will say this:
Numbers. I'll leave with Jewish.
The crime scenes were hilarious and over the top, and you're like, of course this is Mexican.
That was
situation.
unexpected. I didn't expect those crime scenes to be like that real. I mean, it was just like,
balls
like,
in mouth, literally. Like, this is a scene. How am I the one that
they stole some stuff from Seven straight up. It was like
I was waiting for a head in a box the whole time.
This show will surprise you at times. Like
Well,
you're
yeah,
like,
be-
I didn't think they were going to go there.
my God.
right.
Yeah.
You didn't expect them to be that dark with the crime scenes.
However, I was completely not surprised when
Or the trunk scene.
When the trunk scene was hilarious, especially because that's actually how bones sound when they crack. But
Yes.
to get
And you would know because you've fallen a lot.
no, I've actually never broken a bone in my body. However, when it comes to the Mexican cartel, I was not surprised that the two individuals were cousins. I was not surprised. Like, you killed my cousin. Okay, and prepared to die. I don't understand. I was waiting for Reacher in his mind to play that one scene. Okay,
Yeah, see, I haven't gotten quite to all the connections yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still kind of early on in the investigation part. They've obviously, well, it doesn't really matter. They've tied it to, the main guy. But
Did you get to the part where one of the main character's wife is Kristen Crook from Smallville, who
it took me a second.
Shout out Kristen
It
Crook.
took me a second to
You're
realize
amazing.
it, but she's a great. Her and her husband in the TV show are phenomenal.
she's great.
characters.
Accent's a little
Right.
Because anyone's listening to her.
Hey,
but she's,
I was listening,
Hey.
Kristen. I was listening. He's a bad
You
man.
don't even watch with the
He's a
sound.
bad man.
Well, and again, this is supposed to be like small town Georgia, and
like rural Georgia.
Right.
Rural.
Now we talk.
One
Now,
black person.
That was a little thin.
On that front, you go to the mayor, and the mayor just goes like way like KFC. Colonel Sanders.
What are you talking about?
Like,
that was as southern as you could get.
Oh my God!
It was
crystal
a
on the
cane.
end.
It was a diamond.
He was in full on. If anybody knows this, bro, he was in full on boss hog mode.
It was
Yeah.
Dukes
Oh,
has
yeah.
them old Duke boys coming down into my son's town.
Get out of this for the second black person that's in the building.
Yeah,
There was only literally I think 2 or 3 black individuals.
I
in
do
the
believe
show.
that new police chief done stole her honor.
outside of Georgia. I mean, outside of Atlanta, that's Georgia. I mean,
That is a great representation.
No, he was. What I think we're saying is he's spot on.
He is spot on. And again, at the end of the day, and I won't give it out, but what's happening in the factory.
We've
what's
already given
happening-
out so much.
I know so much. I will say I was quite comfortable with the conclusion of why the mafia was there to begin with. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. It
No,
completely makes
But
sense.
you could
I think
see,
so, too.
but it almost makes sense how you could see how an individual or even a corporation like that could take over a small town
Easily.
Oh, first of all, could have
Bloomberg
been
took over
done
Tampa.
many times. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
especially out in the Midwest. Where there's been whole regions that are developed that you take an area, especially when there had been one source of income that's now gone.
Right. Factory towns. Yeah.
It's very easy for places to go in and repurpose them for other things. And by the way, brag about it. We do it in the tech sector all the time.
Yeah.
We do it. What the Mormons do it all the time.
What
they
I
come
like-
into a town, they take over, and then or you could talk about Scientology. They do the same thing. And now that we're
Sir,
taking off the.
I'm very clear about this. Do not make fun of Scientology, and I mean very clear.
What line are we allowed to make fun of?
First of all, we already mentioned Tom Cruise. He's an OT level
Yeah.
7 Satan.
We're only 30 minutes from Clearwater.
Seven? What level are we cleared for?
There is a cruise missile on its way here right now.
I'm
Tom
expecting
Cruise,
you
Tom
to. I'm expecting you to jam it.
God, that's a double tap.
Anywho, the cast is amazing. It's a
Yeah.
really good cast. It's actually really fun.
and kudos to them. I mean, this is a virtually unknown cast.
It's a bunch of white people.
With the exception of, like you mentioned, the accountant's wife.
Alan was in Hunger Games.
Oh, okay.
He was the other beefy other individual.
I don't. Yeah.
Well,
I don't
as the
remember.
show's only Latinx member, I do wonder how you feel about the representation of Jack Reacher.
Get out. Get out. That is a curse word on this platform,
Yes.
sir.
The
I
so
am triggered.
They were Mexican, so it's okay.
okay, fair enough.
Moving on.
Oh,
Native
man.
South Americans, I think
That's how they portrayed it.
Central
Oh, that's right.
Americans.
Yeah.
Actually, no, North Americans. Technically, it's Mexico.
It's true.
Oh, yeah. Good point. All right.
Somebody
So.
studied in geometry
Well,
class.
but I mean, he wasn't. So back to the cast. I mean, Alan's not a star.
it took him a second, but he got it.
I missed it. But Alan's because I'm trying to keep the show going
No,
here. We're
just
trying to
watch
keep
the-
the
just watch the rest of the season. Just watch the rest of the season.
But Alan's not a star. Nobody again, like people. He is now.
Have you watched?
I
Okay,
think,
so I
no, I'm
forgot to
saying
mention,
this show.
yeah.
Has,
How dare you
This
stop.
show has certainly put him on the map.
So
His
his
abs
Hawk,
have put him on
Hawk
the
and
map.
Dove on Titans, which is another. We're going to get to that in the streaming episode one of these days. So it's basically DC's like version of the Young Justice
Right,
League.
right.
He was actually on that with Minka Kelly played his counterpart Hawk and Dove. He was spectacular on that.
Yeah.
Ironically,
again,
very
I got to know him because of Blue Mountain State. That TV show was phenomenal, and if you've ever seen someone take an ice pick up the, then you'll really know what TV looks like. It's a phenomenal piece of art.
I love that you're like he was good at it, like as though you know what bad at it looks like. That's frightening.
I think anyone could tell when
He went sideways
when
again?
something
How many times
bad
do we have to tell
happens
him?
when you take an ice pick up there. And this is a TV show,
gosh,
so
evil.
it was allowed to play on television.
So we just lost
what
our
my-
YouTube Kids rating. So
Yeah,
that's the-
exactly. So my daughter will never be able to watch this show. My point being is he's not an A-list. Like he's not a household name.
Right.
But I think he's perfect for this role.
Yes.
Again, the casting is good. Now, again, in comparison to, let's say, our first episode, which was
Right.
Mrs. Maisel, there's no big celebrity that this show could like ride coattails on.
Okay.
You know, you don't have a Tony Shalhoub.
So
you don't have,
other than Alan Ritchson, who agreed, not a huge name going to it. the guy who plays the Southern Fried Mayor,
Big
Bruce
actor.
McGill.
Bruce
When you
McGill,
see him,
amazing.
You will be
Yes.
like, oh, I recognize him.
Right. I know exactly who he's talking
But
about.
it's a guy that you have to explain who he is. And
Yeah.
even if I gave you 60 minutes to sit here and go, I'm going to map out exactly what he's been in and tell you about it, you still wouldn't
He
understand.
was in Animal House. He was in.
Oh, he's been in tons of stuff.
MacGruver, MacGyver.
I stand by my statement. No one would ever know who you meant until they saw his face.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Right.
matter how many movies you mention.
Yes.
And again, I mean, I think it's brave for a show to really come out without some kind of A-list to draw people in.
For Amazon to trust it.
You know, sure, absolutely. You know, and give this kind of, again, not unknown.
Our producer's giving
but
you the finger.
Yeah, this
The
unknown
good
actor.
one.
A vehicle
Some
like
days.
this, and look, I could see this also going. I mean, who knows how many seasons?
They're
I mean,
gonna have to do a.
but I do agree with your opening point, which is I do think this is America's Sherlock Holmes. All right,
Thank you.
so on that note,
And Evil does too. He just doesn't want to admit it.
closing
I
statement.
don't think-
Recommend.
I kinda don't think
Yes.
of it. Yes, I say yes. You should watch it, and probably will come out with a new season. A new season.
I think it's a definite watch, probably even a rewatch.
Yeah. And for the ladies, as we mentioned in the first episode, Alan actually is actually mostly
He's
undressed.
Johnny's type.
He's mostly undressed throughout most of the first episode. So
No,
if
there's
you-
one-
which I think is definitely a great way to reel the ladies in on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you definitely have not watched the rest of the season. there's at least 2 butt scenes.
Oh,
You're like,
jeez.
okay.
Yeah, no,
We're
that I
talking
have not
Van
gotten
Damme
to.
level cakes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my
Van
God.
Damme level cakes.
It's quite interesting when it comes to what needs to get done.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Outside the Box. I will say totally late to the party on this one, but Spider-Man No Way Home, great film. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I will not give you any spoilers other than to say go watch it. Definitely do your homework. Watch some of the other Spider-Mans first, but it is it's certainly, I would agree, possibly the best one of all the Spider-Man movies that have been out, other than the animated one. That one was fantastic too.
Because I mentioned the wonderful Sherlock Holmes, I'm actually going to mention a very old one that's on the BBC, started in 1983, called The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It is available for streaming, but still technically meets our requirement. Sherlock Holmes is played by Jeremy Brett, one of the greatest portrayals, especially if you're a mystery fan, you love Sherlock Holmes. You see where Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey
I love that.
stole some.
I love the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
Oh, trust me, you should look into this.
Okay.
It's absolutely great. Great period work. And also in one of them, a very young, supple Jude Law plays a stable boy.
Are you going to stick to the word supple? I'm just asking. Are you going to stick to that word?
Asked and answered, sir.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. My recommendation is actually Daredevil. It is one of the
movie?
the TV show. The movie
let's
was
specify,
trash.
please.
The movie was trash. However, I mean, getting to watch those two before they got married, actually participate in whatever, is funny.
No.
But the TV show Daredevil on Netflix, Charles Cox is amazing when it comes to playing Daredevil. You actually believe it that he is playing it. Again, the fight scenes are amazing. I don't know who's doing the choreography, but someone's doing it right over there.
Charles what?
COX.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so it's actually a really good, he gets beat up, you see it, and then he gets beat up. In the past, these people were never got beat up or everything else.
But I have a red flag on your recommendation, which is that it's supposed to be outside the box. So not a streaming.
Not a streaming?
No, it's supposed to be something that was either on television or in the movies.
I'm also confused what is inside and outside of the box.
I think I know what's inside the box.
I expect Anibal to be confused about what's inside and outside the box.
have boxes now? I don't understand.
That character did appear in your recommendation, No
Yes.
Way Home, so there is a tie-in.
Oh,
Charlie,
boom.
was it? Charlie what?
Cox.
Okay. He was, yes, correct. So he was in No Way Home, so he does kind of get to sneak that in the back door.
Also on that on the Netflix show is The Punisher is there as well.
Oh, stop.
We can throw that in
one
this
more.
situation.
No, you only get one recommendation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been another episode of Flex Plus Prime. Thank you very much to Anibal, David Cabrera, Nate Ginter. We will catch you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.